Your soulmate is begging you not to miss this moment. Open this before it's too late. My beloved child, don't look away just yet, because the next few moments may reveal something your heart has been quietly waiting to hear for far longer than you realize. There is a reason your attention was drawn here today. Out of countless paths you could have followed, something invisible guided you to this exact moment. Coincidence rarely knocks this gently. Destiny often whispers before it ever announces itself. So remain here for a little while, because every sentence from this point forward carries a thread connected to the title you just read. Somewhere beyond your current understanding, a story is unfolding that does not need noise to become powerful. Your soulmate is not calling your name through words alone. They are reaching toward a moment, one single moment, that could quietly reshape everything they have been hoping for. They are not asking you to rush. They are not asking you to chase. They are simply hoping that when destiny places a door before you, you will recognize it instead of walking past it. Imagine this for a second. What if the opportunity you've been expecting never arrives with fireworks? What if it arrives disguised as an ordinary day, an ordinary conversation, an ordinary decision that seems too small to matter? Most people wait for dramatic signs. Yet the greatest turning points often wear the simplest faces. Your soulmate understands this now. That is why, in the silence of their own journey, they are sending one message that echoes louder than anything else: please, don't miss this moment. Pause here. Why would someone you've never fully met in this lifetime seem connected to your next step? Because some connections begin long before introductions ever happen. They begin with growth. They begin with choices that nobody else notices. Every challenge you've faced recently has been preparing you to recognize something different. Not someone perfect, but someone whose path finally aligns with yours. Stay a little longer. There is another layer to this story. Your soulmate has been reflecting on everything they once believed about timing. They thought life would hand them certainty before change. Instead, life handed them questions. Questions became patience. Patience became wisdom. And wisdom became the quiet realization that the person they have been waiting for would never arrive through fear, but through courage. Now ask yourself something. Have you felt an unusual urge to slow down lately? To rethink certain decisions? To notice details you once ignored? Those aren't random feelings inside this story. They represent preparation. Every meaningful encounter begins long before two people ever stand in the same place. Here's what makes this moment extraordinary. Your soulmate isn't begging because they're desperate. They're begging because they finally understand the value of timing. There is a profound difference. Desperation pushes. Wisdom waits. And today, wisdom is whispering. Don't overlook what is quietly arriving. Perhaps you've been searching so intensely for extraordinary answers that you've almost missed the extraordinary changes already happening inside you. Confidence replacing doubt. Peace replacing confusion. Hope returning after seasons of uncertainty. These invisible victories are becoming visible signals that another chapter is approaching. Wait before moving on. The next revelation changes everything. Your soulmate has reached a point where they no longer wish for perfection. They wish for authenticity. They hope the person standing before them someday will carry kindness more than appearance, resilience more than promises, honesty more than performance. And whether you realize it or not, life has been shaping exactly those qualities within you. That is why this message feels urgent. Not because something terrible is about to happen, but because beautiful opportunities often disappear when they are mistaken for ordinary moments. Think about sunrise. It never argues with the darkness. It simply arrives. And anyone still asleep misses its beauty without the sunrise ever making a sound. Your soulmate fears only one thing within this story. Not distance. Not time. Not uncertainty. But the possibility that you might ignore the quiet invitation destiny places before you because it doesn't look dramatic enough. So listen carefully. Over the coming days, pay attention to unexpected conversations. Notice the moments that bring unexplained calm instead of excitement. Watch for paths that feel strangely familiar even when you've never walked them before. Sometimes the future announces itself through peace rather than spectacle. Before this chapter closes, remember one final thought. The greatest moments in life rarely announce themselves by saying, "This is the day everything changes." Instead, they simply arrive. Softly. Patiently. Almost unnoticed. And only later do you realize. That was the moment your soulmate had been begging you not to miss all along. A quiet truth is beginning to surface. And if you've stayed this far, you're already closer to understanding why your soulmate never wanted you to miss this moment. The story is no longer about waiting. It is about recognizing what has been quietly moving behind the scenes while you were focused on everything else. There is a difference between an opportunity that is created, and one that has been preparing itself long before you ever noticed it. This is the second kind. Your soulmate has reached a realization that changed everything inside them. They stopped asking, "When will the right moment come?" Instead, they began asking, "Will we recognize it when it finally arrives?" That single question transformed the way they looked at every ordinary day. Because destiny rarely arrives dressed in certainty. More often, it appears as a simple decision that seems almost too small to matter, until it changes the direction of an entire life. Stay with this thought for a moment. What if the next chapter doesn't begin with a loud announcement? What if it begins with a feeling you cannot explain, a conversation you almost ignored, or a door you nearly walked past? These are the moments your soulmate keeps sensing. Deep inside, they feel that something meaningful is drawing closer. Not through force, but through perfect timing. Imagine standing at the edge of a sunrise. The horizon looks unchanged. Until suddenly the first ray of light appears. That single ray doesn't just brighten the sky, it reveals everything that was already there. In the same way, your next step may not create your future. It may simply reveal the future that has been patiently waiting for you. You might notice people entering your life with unexpected kindness. You may hear words that stay with you longer than they should. A forgotten dream may suddenly return with new meaning. None of these moments will demand your attention. They will quietly invite it. And that invitation is exactly what your soulmate hopes you will accept. Before we continue, if this message speaks to something deep within your heart, consider sharing it with someone who needs hope today. And if these stories continue to encourage you, you may want to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of this journey. Sometimes one message reaches exactly the person who was waiting for it. Now listen carefully. Your soulmate has stopped looking for dramatic signs. They have begun trusting peaceful ones. They believe that the strongest connections are built through honesty, patience, and mutual growth, not through rushing or proving. They hope that when your paths finally cross, neither of you will be searching for perfection. Instead, you'll recognize the quiet strength you've both developed along the way. So don't rush ahead. The biggest revelation hasn't appeared yet. Because the moment your soulmate has been protecting, the one they keep hoping you won't overlook, is closer than either of you realize. And when it finally arrives, you'll understand why every delay, every lesson, and every unexpected turn brought you to this exact point in the story. A final thought before this chapter unfolds: what if the moment your soulmate has been protecting is already beginning to reveal itself, one quiet step at a time? Most people spend their lives waiting for certainty before they move forward. But destiny has always worked differently. It asks for awareness first, and understanding comes later. That is why your soulmate keeps sending the same silent message through this story: please don't let this moment pass you by. Take a deep look at the path behind you. There were times when delays felt disappointing. Doors closed without explanation. Plans changed. People came and went. At first, those moments seemed like interruptions. But now another possibility begins to appear. What if none of those events were obstacles? What if they were gentle adjustments, slowly aligning two different journeys toward one meaningful destination? Stay a little longer. The most important realization is still ahead. Your soulmate has learned something that few people ever discover. They realized that love isn't found by chasing every opportunity. It is found by becoming the kind of person who recognizes the right opportunity when it quietly arrives. That understanding brought them peace. Instead of rushing toward tomorrow, they began preparing themselves for it. And unknowingly, you've been doing the very same thing. Every lesson you've learned has strengthened your patience. Every challenge has deepened your compassion. Every unanswered question has expanded your wisdom. These changes may have felt invisible, but they are creating the foundation for a connection built on authenticity rather than appearance. Now imagine this scene. A single train reaches the station exactly on time. Hundreds of people walk past without realizing how important that moment could become. Only one person notices the open door, steps inside, and begins a journey that changes everything. Life often works that way. The opportunity doesn't shout. It simply waits. And your soulmate hopes you'll recognize it before it quietly moves forward. Here's something even more remarkable. Your soulmate no longer fears the distance between you. They no longer worry about how long the journey has taken. Instead, they believe every experience has been preparing both hearts to meet with greater understanding, deeper respect, and stronger purpose. They trust that meaningful connections grow through timing, not through urgency. So as you move through the coming days, notice the small moments. The unexpected conversation that feels strangely comforting. The idea that keeps returning to your mind. The decision that brings peace instead of pressure. The path that feels quietly familiar, even if you've never walked it before. These may seem ordinary. Yet ordinary moments often become extraordinary memories when viewed from the future. Before this chapter comes to an end, remember this one truth. Your soulmate's message was never about fear. It was never about losing something. It has always been about recognizing something precious before it slips unnoticed into yesterday. If you've stayed until this final line, perhaps that alone says something. Perhaps your heart was never searching for certainty. Perhaps it was searching for awareness. Because the greatest turning points in life don't always arrive with noise. They arrive with stillness. They arrive with clarity. They arrive when two journeys have finally become ready to meet. And when that day comes, you'll look back on this very moment, not as the ending of a story, but as the quiet beginning of a chapter that had been waiting for you all along. A new horizon is opening, but before this journey moves any further, hear one final whisper that your soulmate wishes could reach you before the clock quietly turns another page. Some moments exist only once. They do not return to prove their importance. They simply appear, waiting for a heart that is awake enough to recognize them. That is why this message has carried the same quiet urgency from the beginning, not to create fear, but to awaken awareness. You have come farther than you realize. Every chapter of your life has been preparing you for this one. The disappointments that once felt heavy have become wisdom. The waiting that once felt endless has become patience. The questions that once echoed through your heart have slowly transformed into quiet confidence. Your soulmate senses this change, even if they cannot yet explain how. They believe the person they have been hoping to meet is no longer the same person they once imagined. That person has grown, and so have you. Wait just a little longer. One final truth remains. Imagine standing before two doors. One shines brightly, demanding attention. The other is simple, almost unnoticed. Most people rush toward the louder choice. But true destiny rarely competes for attention. It waits with calm certainty, allowing only those who have learned to trust their inner wisdom to step through. Your soulmate believes your next breakthrough will arrive in exactly that way. Not through chaos. Not through pressure. But through unmistakable peace. When that moment comes, don't question why it feels different. Some opportunities carry a quiet confidence that needs no explanation. Trust the calm that guides you forward. If this story has touched something within your heart, consider sharing it with someone who may also be waiting for a sign of hope. And if these messages continue to inspire your journey, you may wish to subscribe so we can continue walking this path together, one chapter at a time. Sometimes the next message arrives exactly when it is needed most. Now listen carefully. Your soulmate is no longer counting the days. They are preparing for the moment. They believe that every step you've both taken has been shaping a meeting that will feel less like coincidence and more like recognition. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because both of you became ready to appreciate what truly matters. And here is the revelation that ties this entire story together. The message was never simply, "Open this before it's too late." The deeper message has always been, "Open your heart before the right moment quietly passes by." That is the real invitation. to notice kindness, to embrace growth, to welcome unexpected opportunities, to believe that meaningful connections are built through authenticity, patience, and courage. As this chapter closes, don't carry away only curiosity. Carry away awareness. Because somewhere ahead, on a day that seems completely ordinary, you'll pause for a single second. Something familiar will catch your attention. A conversation will feel different. A decision will bring unexpected peace. And in that instant, you'll remember these words. Not because they predicted your future, but because they reminded you to stay present when your future finally arrived. Until our paths cross again in the next chapter, protect your hope, trust your growth, and never underestimate the quiet power of a single moment. Sometimes, one ordinary choice becomes the beginning of an extraordinary story, and that may be exactly the moment your soulmate has been asking you not to miss from the very beginning. One final chapter remains. And if you've stayed with this journey until now, perhaps your heart already knows that something meaningful has been unfolding from the very beginning. Not because every mystery has been solved, but because every step has quietly led you toward greater awareness. Your soulmate's message has never been about rushing your future. It has always been about preparing you to recognize it when it finally stands before you. Think about how seasons change. Spring never forces the flowers to bloom before their time. The sunrise never hurries the morning. Everything meaningful arrives when the moment is ready. Your soulmate has come to believe the same truth. They no longer measure life by how long they have waited. They measure it by how much they have grown while waiting. Perhaps that is why this message found you today. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Today. Because the person reading these words is no longer the same person who began this journey. Every chapter has planted a quiet reminder inside your heart: trust the process, remain open, and never allow disappointment to convince you that your story has stopped moving forward. Stay with me for these final moments. There is one last realization your soulmate hopes you will carry beyond this video. They believe that when your paths finally cross, it won't feel like meeting a stranger. It will feel like remembering someone your heart somehow already understood. There will be no need for grand speeches or impossible promises. Instead, there will be comfort, familiarity, a quiet certainty that cannot be explained with ordinary words. That is the kind of connection worth waiting for. Not one built on urgency, but one built on mutual respect. Not one driven by fear of missing out, but one strengthened by patience, honesty, and hope. And here's something remarkable. Every choice you make today is shaping tomorrow's encounter. Every act of kindness, every lesson accepted, every moment of courage becomes part of the person your soulmate is destined to recognize. In the same way, they are becoming the person you will one day be grateful to meet. So don't underestimate today. The smallest decision may become tomorrow's greatest memory. The quiet conversation may become the beginning of a lifelong friendship. The unexpected opportunity may become the doorway that changes everything. Life often hides extraordinary beginnings inside ordinary moments. Now the message that echoed through every chapter becomes beautifully clear. Your soulmate was never begging you to fear the future. They were inviting you to embrace the present. Because only someone fully present can recognize the miracle hidden inside an ordinary day. As this story reaches its closing pages, carry this truth with you wherever life leads next. Walk with hope. Choose patience over panic. Choose faith in your journey over doubt. And whenever life places a quiet opportunity before you, remember these words. The greatest moments rarely announce themselves. They simply arrive, waiting for someone who is ready enough to notice. Perhaps that someone is already becoming you. And when your soulmate finally smiles across that future moment, you'll understand that nothing meaningful was ever late. It was simply waiting for both of your stories to become ready at exactly the same time. Until the next chapter, keep your heart open, your spirit steady, and your eyes awake. Sometimes the ending you've been waiting for is only the beginning of a far more beautiful journey, before this story gently comes to its final destination. There is one last message your soulmate wishes could reach your heart before another ordinary day quietly slips away. It is not a message filled with urgency. It is not a message asking you to change who you are. It is something far simpler, and far more powerful. Please, keep believing. Those 3 silent words have followed this entire journey. Because your soulmate has discovered that hope is not something people find after life becomes perfect. Hope is what carries them until the perfect moment finally arrives. Every season of uncertainty has taught them that meaningful connections are never built in haste. They are built in the quiet places where patience becomes